Okay, in this video, I'm going to quickly show you how you can make some environment pre-mades. I call pre-mades that they're basically things made out of prefab. So a bunch of prefabs come together, make like an environment piece that you can reuse. I call that a pre-made. So why don't we see how we can get started? So I'm just in a blank stage, stage 01. Um, if you have anything in the scene, no big deal. You can just move it out of the way or delete it or whatever. But being in this stage gives me a valuable size reference of our player ship here. So everything I build, I'm going to make sure it's within the size of my player, like so. So in that regards, I'm going to select my player, and I'm going to move him back some so I can work in this center grid right here. All right. The first thing we're going to do to get started with our environment prefab is go up here to Game Object, right up here, and we're going to create an empty game object. All right. What that's going to do is our inspector right here, it's going to give us this empty game object. And why don't we just make kind of like a wall piece that's got nice decoration. So we'll just call this wall PMD for pre-made. And we need to do one more thing. See how our handles are kind of not quite in the center of our grid right here? We're going to go up here to our inspector and see this little gear cog. We can hit reset, and that'll get our transforms reset to 0. And we want to start with our wall right here in the center. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a rotating wall so I can show you guys how we can do that. So we'll call this wall rotating. I can just go ahead and show you how we can get movement on a big wall piece. All right, now it's just a matter of basically designing the way the wall is going to look, just like if we were doing an enemy ship or a player ship. So why don't we go down here to our models, and since this is going to rotate, I want it to rotate around something. So I like this core being the thing I'm going to rotate around. And notice how if I bring it straight to my hierarchy, it goes straight to the center of the grid. But if we compare that size to the player, that's not going to be a very big rotating piece for a wall. So why don't we make it a little bit bigger like that? All right, great. And then I'm going to go in and grab some wall pieces like so. And I'm going to take this wall and I'm going to rotate it up 90 degrees. If I look in my inspector here, I'm pretty close to 90. So let's just do a negative 90 to make sure it's exact. And I'm going to kind of shrink this down. I want to make a few wall pieces that go in there like this. Nice. And then I'm going to duplicate this wall with Control D. And I'm going to kind of position it right on top of one another, kind of like how they're intersecting. There we go. That's a nice, like, pretty good wall piece there. And we're going to grab these two. I'm going to hold down Shift so I can select both of them. And again, Control D will duplicate them. And then we can bring them down here. So there is my nice rotating wall right there. But why don't we spice it up with some decorations? All right. I'm going to go in and grab some machine equipment, and let's put some exhaust ports on there. So, you know, we can have a functional level that also looks pretty nice too. So I'm going to rotate this negative 90 degrees. You can see me fixing it up here in the inspector at that negative 90. And then I'm just going to scale it to how big I want it to kind of be. So, you know, just put some nice vents on the side of it, like so. Give it some, make it look pretty cool. And I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees in the X. So you can see I'm not quite at 180 degrees. So I'll do one negative 180 to make sure we're completely up and down. And then I'm just going to position it kind of like how I got that one positioned. Ooh, maybe put that little ridge point up here. We can turn the lights off so we can get a better look at it. See this little light button right here? Up here in our game view. That turns the lights on and off in our scene. So those shadows are getting in our way of looking at it. We can turn those off. Then I'm going to duplicate these. and I'm going to rotate them 180. Let's see, let's get a good look at this. See how I did my camera like that? So I was in perspective mode. So I went to the top view, and then I pressed this top button right there, and that turned me into isometric view, which gives me better view of what I'm looking at. Perspective can kind of warp things, but this lets you look at things right on. All right, so we got those pieces on there. Let's put something on the ends of them, make them look pretty good. Let's see, something kind of like a capper, like a big piece of machinery or something. Let's see, what about these pistons? I think I can do something with that. So we're going to take it up here. It's pretty small right now, but before I size it up, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees downwards. And again, you can go up to your transforms, clean those up so they're completely 90 degrees. You know, these are machines, so they have like perfect size proportions. And I'm going to select my piece and press R on the keyboard for my scale tool. And we're going to set this piston kind of, you know what, I'm going to rotate it like so. And just float that on top of each other. So when it rotates, maybe it looks like a hammer or something. I don't know. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. All right, so this piece is going to fill up most of the stage. Of course, we can always rescale it later after we make our pre-made. So, you know, we're going to try to get the size pretty good with our level and our player ship, but we're not going to stress over it. All right, I'm going to duplicate this down now, and it looks like I need to rotate it this way, 90 degrees, and then rotate it up like this. 90. I'm just going to clean up my transforms. There we go. Negative 100. I don't know why that's 100. 180. Let's see. That looks pretty straight up and down. It's not a complete science. Maybe bring it down like that. There we go. And now we kind of have some hammers on the end of our walls that can catch us. Yeah, let's run with that theme and really push them out there like that. I'm just going to add one more decoration and put some nice hoses on this. I just like putting hoses on science fiction equipment. Makes it look nice and mechanical and industrial. So I'm just going to clean up my transforms up here and scale this up. I'm just going to have a little hose going into the back of this thing. Let's see how I can make that look good. So I'm going to look close here. So I want it kind of floating in there. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Let's hide some of that equipment so I don't get too many intersecting things. And I like that. There we go. All right, let's do the same thing down below. So I'm going to drop this down 180. I'm going to go ahead and get it in position because I'm probably going to take it over and put it on the back side of this. And just flip it. Looks like that needs to be 270. That's another kind of multiple of 90 degrees. And just insert it in. Let's see. Let's put that right there. Nice. So we have our wall basically made. It's not just a boring wall. It's got some equipment on it. Makes it look really like sci-fi and futuristic and part of like a spaceport or something. All right. So now we need to come into our hierarchy here and start parenting things in the correct way. So the way to get this whole big arm rotating is we're going to rotate around this core. So our core prefab right here that I have highlighted is going to be what drives our animation. So the beautiful thing about parenting stuff, so I'm going to select everything that's not my core, I'm just going to drag and drop it onto my core there. See how now my core has all of them as children? So now they'll follow around wherever my core is. Watch this. So I'm going to select my core right there. Now they'll rotate with me. Pretty cool, huh? So parenting is really nice when it comes to um, animations and getting things working for you without having to animate every single part, right? And so after we do that, I like to just wrap it up by dropping it into that pre-made we made a long time ago. So that empty game object right there is now going to be our core, our rotating wall pre-made. And then we're going to come out here. And why don't we go into our project window down here? Let's go to our prefabs. Let's go to our environment. And I've already got some pre-mades made for you, but this is your own. So why don't we just drop this new prefab right there. And notice how it turns blue for us. That means it's a prefab. It's saved for us. And anytime we want to get it back, we can just go to our prefabs folder and drag and drop it right into our scenes. All right, so why don't we press play and see what happens. All right. I know what happened there. My player spawn point was in the center of the grid. Not the best idea. So let me move my player spawn point back. All right. So we just get this wall here, and I can collide with it pretty good. But we want it to kind of rotate, right? First of all, I'm going to go and change my stage speed level down to 0 so I can fly around this thing and test it out. Let's see what happens. All right, cool. So that's the wall. It stops bullets, does a bunch of good stuff. Okay, great. I'm going to turn that volume down. If we want to get the wall rotating, which is the point of this whole prop, right? We're going to expand our rotating wall premat and select this core prefab right here, okay? And then we're going to go over to our inspector and see how we have our object stats. Since it's an environment piece, it's never going to be destroyed, and it's going to destroy anything. It has no faction, so that's good. So when we're making environments, we don't really need to change these settings at all. They're already set up as environments, so that's nice. We're just going to keep scrolling down to where it says hazard mover. We're going to check it, and we're going to enable our movement, and then I think we'll give it a horizontal spin of 0.5, really small number. All right, let's press play and see what happens. Okay, we're spinning, but not in the right way. So you can do, spins from that side, but that's not exactly the spin we're looking for. So I'm going to go in and turn my horizontal spin to 0, and let's turn our vertical spin to 0.5. And that should do it. Let's cross our fingers. There we go, and there's our rotating wall. Everything's parented under that core centerpiece right there, and now the wall can just crunch us if it wants to. All right, perfect. So that's how you can make environment prefabs that rotate and animate. Remember, it's all about how you parent it. So like so, and then like so. And I hope you guys found this very informative. Enjoy the design.